Okay, I have held this one for quite a while, so it's about time we take a look at this. This is the Hiya Toys Kong from GVK, Godzilla vs. Kong. Now, many months ago, back in the summer, I did a review on the younger version of Kong from Skull Island, also by Hiya Toys. And since then, I've been able to get some of the Hiya stuff for Godzilla vs. Kong, Godzilla KOTM, you know, all the gist. However, I couldn't get my hands on the Godzilla vs. Kong Godzilla, but turns out it's pretty much the same as the KOTM Godzilla, which I haven't reviewed yet, so honestly, I don't think I'm missing out much by not getting that Godzilla. However, this Kong would say otherwise, because this is of course a much different version of Kong compared to the Skull Island one. Let's take a look at this Kong. So this is a much older version of the packaging. Now they have really nice artwork, but back then the packaging for these figures is you just stick the PNG image of the figure and then try to put some random background in the back, and that's about it. So we got the Exquisite basic Godzilla vs. Kong, Goji and Kong there. We have Hong Kong in ruins there. We have Monster vs. Kong logo. Bottom, top, it's literally the same thing. This side, and here's the back. Just a bunch of other info if you want to pause the video to take a look at that, because I'm not going to waste our time. I want to crack into this. Let's open this figure. Let's get right into it. This is technically my first time getting a Hiya Toys Kong that is adult Kong. I don't really count the Skull Island Kong because you can't really pair him against Godzilla. This Kong, absolutely. But before we dive into this figure, let's change things up a bit. Usually the format is I review the figure and then compare it and then show you the accessories. This time, I want to show you all the accessories first and then get into the figure and then comparing, because there's quite an abundant amount of accessories included here. So why don't we just dive straight into it by first looking at some of these extra hands. We got a bunch of hands here. So the first one here is like a, what is this one supposed to be? Is it just a gripping hand? What are they trying to achieve here with this specific pair of hands? Next one, we got the closed fists one. This one looks more like it. If you want Kong to be in a punching stance, you want him to throw punches, this is of course the one to go. You want the closed fists, so these are very useful. But of course, this one is going to be the most useful because this is where you can stick in the battle axe. I'll probably be doing a hand swap in a bit. But yes, this is probably going to be the most useful one of all the extra hands. So there you go. And then in terms of heads, we have two different heads apart from the one that's already on him. And I think I'll be doing a head swap as well because I kind of want a more aggressive roaring face, which is this one here. Look at that. Mouth is wide open. He's letting out his roar. Very nice. This is probably the one I'll use, but if you don't want this one, there's also a snarling Kong. If you want him to be snarling, gritting his teeth, then this is the one to go. And last, but definitely not the least, we have the almighty battle axe. Now, this is the first time I've ever seen Hiya's version of the battle axe. It actually feels a little cheaper. It feels very plasticky. I will say, the SH Monsterarts Kongs, the battle axes, they're all in good quality. Like, they actually feel high quality and they look very high quality. Not to throw any shade, and I mean this in a good way. It feels a little cheaper and it seems like it's a little cheaper. Then again, this figure itself is cheaper than an SH Monsterarts Kong, so that's fair. It's not bad though. That's not to say that's a bad thing. This is it's a solid battle axe, but the trick is now to put this on the hand so then we can have Kong wield it, but I will do that off camera. So on to the figure now. As I've always said about Hiya Toys, it is a combination of the affordability of Playmates, but has the quality that you'd expect from SH Monsterarts. And I feel like you kind of get that with this Kong here. Yes, in a way it does feel heavier, because the SH Monsterarts Kongs are usually a lot lighter, so there's a lot of weight to this Kong. However, that doesn't deter the overall quality. For starters, I do like the glossiness they kind of put on his fur here. His fur color is kind of this mix between gray and brown. If you look at his fur on his back, you can kind of see it stand out the best there. You can see a little bit of the brown sticking out. And if you look at the front, you can see the scar on his chest. But in terms of his actual chest, you can see the color is a little bit more darker there, so good attention detail there. The feet and the hands, it's pretty standard. There's actually really just one consistent color scheme, similar to just how Kong should be. Not like Playmates trying to attempt to sell a different version of Kong and stick some ridiculous looking paint job and say, oh, this is a new Kong, buy it. You know, Hiya kept things straight and simple, and this is exactly what I'm looking for. Now, I'm hoping that the GXK Kong, when that eventually comes out, I'm hoping that it will look more on the grayer side to show his older look, because the GVK Kong is more on the browner side. So Hiya actually captured that pretty well with this figure, and I hope they do the same with the GXK Kong. We got a knee articulation here, so you can bend the knee. Very nice, very nice. We have a ball socket down at the feet, so there's a swivel on the feet here. And the same can be said with this. Oh, this one's a little stiffer though. Good God. Well, it's possible, but it's just a little stiffer. So knee articulation, feet articulation. Then we have a waist articulation here. Oh, look at that range. That is solid. Nice, nice. Look at this. Big ball socket on the waist. So lots of articulation there. And then we have the arms. So shoulder, elbow. Again, it's super stiff, but it's possible. Then we have the hand articulation, which I will pull out this high five hand that he currently has and swap it with the holding hand. Same thing on this side with this arm, shoulder, elbow, again super stiff. And then the wrist articulation here for the hand. And last but definitely not the least, we have the head articulation. Oh yeah, the ball socket's pretty solid here. Out of everything I would expect out of a Kong action figure in terms of articulation, I absolutely get that here for Hiya. They're not really cheaping out. I want to say it's actually on par with the SH Monsterarts Kong in terms of the articulation. It's pretty much on par. So again, I think the only major difference that you're looking at here is the price. But I want this Kong to look a little less boring, because right now he's in a very neutral pose. It kind of looks like he's throwing a T-pose. Let's swap out his head, and let's swap out his hands, because I want to get some more expression going on here. So let's pull out this head.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
There we go. I decapitated him. We want the roaring face, or you can use the snarling face, but I'm gonna go with the roaring face here.
The next day.
All right, that's the head. So now let's pull the hands out next. Why is this so tight?
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
Okay, I've spent like half an hour trying to stick this battle axe in his hand, but the hands are so tight. The plastic is so tight, even with the hair dryer method. So I've given up. I couldn't be asked. Just know this battle axe is included, so I can't get him to hold it. Unfortunate. I tried. What I did instead is I just put on the closed fists, so he's at least in a punching pose now. So this is the best you're gonna get. But now we can do some comparing. So we have the Skull Island Kong here, 2017 Kong, even though I don't exactly remember when this figure released. Maybe last year? I heard it was pretty recent. Like, I got it from GameStop of all places. But as you can see, there is a pretty big difference. So you can clearly see Kong's aging between the 70s to 2024. So there you go. And yes, the movie takes place in 2024, I believe. But I do think Kong is a little bit bigger than this in GVK. Well, I don't have the GVK Godzilla, but I do have the GXK Godzilla that just released last year. I believe it's pretty much this. I think that's a little accurate. I think Kong is a little bit bigger though. Godzilla is bound to be bigger, so that's no surprise there. Now, as much as I appreciate the quality of this, sometimes it's a little too good. And as you have noticed, I struggled to get the battle axe in the hands, let alone the head in the hands. Do you know it took me like a lot of strength to pull that head in and pull the new one in? The quality is a little too good, because the ball sockets can sometimes be a hassle to do swaps on hands and heads, and the battle axe, I just couldn't put that in the hand. The plastic's too hard. They needed to have it like SH Monsterarts, where it's high quality, but it's still flexible enough for you to actually stick the battle axe into the hands. But what about the overall look of this Kong? It's not bad. I enjoy it. It looks like an older Kong, but I will say, if I had to choose, I think I'd stick with the SH Monsterarts Kong. I just feel like that quality is much higher. Granted, this Kong is worth 70 Canadian dollars, so it is a lot cheaper than the SH Monsterarts Kong. So in terms of affordability, obviously this is the better one. I'm just looking at this in terms of the quality of the figure itself and the appearance and the handling of the figure. The playability you also get. Remember, there's articulation, so meaning you could play with these. So I think I might have to hand it to the SH Monsterarts Kong rather than this one. But that's not to discredit this Kong. There's still many great things about this Kong. Sometimes it's just a little too good. That's my complaint about it. So out of 10, I'm gonna give this Kong from GVK a solid 7 out of 10. Let me know if you agree with me or not, because frankly speaking, I don't think this is my favorite Kong figure. Definitely not, but it's not bad though. I feel like Hiya is a little, it's a little 50-50 for me. They have some bangers, but they also have some mid figures. And I think this Kong is probably one of the mid ones. So I hope that the GXK Kongs, the Beast Glove and the Battle Axe one, two things. Number one, the axe will actually be easier to insert into his hand. Good riddance on that. And then, yeah, for the Beast Glove Kong, I expect great things for that Beast Glove. We'll see what happens. But of course, we gotta start with some of the older stuff first before tackling on the new ones. So that is it for this review on the GVK Kong by Hiya Toys. Let me know what y'all think. Do you agree with me or disagree with me? I want to hear your opinions. And of course, you check out the reviews for the younger 2017 Skull Island Kong and the 2024 Godzilla. I seem to pull that Godzilla out a lot. He's like a candidate to do a lot of comparisons with all the other figures. So go check out that review if you haven't already. For now, hit that like button, subscribe, do all the good stuff, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Peace!